Testing, testing, testing. 1, 2, 3. All right. Welcome back, everyone, to another Friday night live stream here at Christ-Centered Ironworks. So glad to have you in my shop this evening. Jessica, how are we doing this evening?
We are doing well. It's
doing
a little
fine
cooler.
As frog hair, huh?
It's a little cooler here in Northeast Michigan, but we're all right with that.
Yeah. Jessica makes it look like it's really cold. It's not that cold yet. It is not that cold yet. So.
I don't have on my winter pants yet, so we're good.
I keep trying to tell her, you've got to let the cold into your soul.
Yes.
You got to start early. You have to reach out and embrace the winter and give it a good old hug.
The problem is when we go somewhere and they keep the interior of their home 72 degrees, we like boil alive.
Yeah.
So like we keep our house like 66 or 68, something like that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And 68 is our compromise temperature because I'd keep it at about 55 year round if I could. But yeah, there it is. There it is. So welcome everyone. Hopefully we're coming through to a television or phone near you loud and clear. Tonight we're going to be making a pair of bent knee tongs. So it's I need to create a little collection of bent knee tongs. I've found them to be fairly helpful in doing some of the ornamental work that I've been doing here recently. So I need to create several pairs, and so we're going to work on a half of one tonight, and maybe do a little bit more during the Christmas stream. But I kind of want to just work out a few of the steps and the processes tonight and just do a bunch of Q&A, so it should be a good amount of fun. And we will also be doing a giveaway later in this stream, but I'll get to that here in a bit. I want to go over some announcements, some first announcements real quick. So we are in the month of November, and as we have done now for the last 4 years or so, we like to do charitable giving. We like to increase our charitable giving, and we like to increase our charitable giving on behalf of the blacksmithing community, and that's you all out there. And so every year we have picked some big charity organization to take and give a portion of the money that we receive through our blank sales with a coupon code. We give a portion of the money, we give you a discount, and we give the same amount that we've discounted to a charitable organization of some type. So for 2 years, it was St. Jude's Children's Hospital. 1 year, we did Ronald McDonald House. And this year, we're going to be doing the Alzheimer's. I call it the Old Timers Association. So, it's for the Alzheimer's, or the, people who suffer with dementia and Alzheimer's disease and things like that. So if you use the coupon code ALZ to get 10% off of your order during November, and that's all the way throughout November, we at our blacksmithingblanks.com, we will also donate another 10% of those proceeds to the Alzheimer's Association. So it's a really great way of you be able to reach out and support, and also get some cool stuff that you can forge. And we always throw some goodies in the pack.
So
we have to pause. Pausing.
Okay, says reconnection successful.
We have to pause. Pausing.
Okay, says reconnection successful.
All right. Did I freeze out, or am I okay?
I think it was just the last maybe 15 seconds.
Man, that was my best sales pitch ever, and it's like totally ruined now.
Yeah.
Like, what the heck? Okay, from the top. No, I'm not going all the way back to the top. Check the description for all that information. Jessica sent out a newsletter for anybody who's part of our newsletter mailing list. She does those twice a month. She does a newsletter twice a month, give you guys some updates, where we're at, special, deals, discounts, things like that. So if you are interested, you can go over to our website, sign up for our newsletter as well, and get tuned in with all of that good stuff. But yes, so we will be giving 10%, giving you a discount of 10%. Are we okay?
Doing fine? Yeah, we're good.
All right, we will be giving you a 10% discount, and then we'll be taking 10% of the order total, and we will be giving it to the Alzheimer's Association. So to help out there. So that's our charitable giving this year that we do in addition to the Great Blacksmith Christmas Giveaway live stream, which we will get to here in just a second. The second thing that we like to do around this time of year, and it was kind of popular, I think, in the previous year that we did it, is we're doing a Christmas sweater ornament contest right now. And so to enter, your ornament has to be made from metal, so there's no purchase necessary. You don't have to purchase any ornaments from us, that look like a sweater, although we do have some over our website. But your ornament must be made of metal. It has to be a sweater ornament of some kind. So it can't just be any ornament, it has to be a sweater. Think ugly Christmas sweater contest, right? So it has to be a sweater ornament of some type. To enter, you post your photo on Facebook and Instagram, tag us at Christ Center and Ironworks with hashtag Blacksmith Sweater. There's no purchase necessary, and it's open worldwide. The grand prizes that we're going to be giving away is first place is a $100 e-gift card to blacksmithingblanks.com. Second place is $75. Third place is $50. And the deadline for all of that is Wednesday, December 18th at 11:59 p.m. So from the time you get to making it to the time it has to be posted and us tagged so we can look at it, that is your deadline to get that done. If you want to take and maybe potentially win a free gift card there. The way we choose winners is we just kind of look at it and we just kind of pick the ones that interest us the most, the ones that maybe we found more funny, the ones that were most creative maybe, and man, last year there was some humdingers, wasn't there, honey?
Mm-hmm. There was.
It was difficult, so difficult to choose.
You can actually use that hashtag and see what people posted. It'll show up under that hashtag.
Yep.
So from last year too.
So if you use that hashtag, you can go see what the last year's ones were. Good. So we will announce the winners of that contest on December 20th at our Great Blacksmith Christmas Giveaway live stream. So that's going to bring us up to that. You can find out more additional information, obviously, as we go up. It'll be posted all over social, so no worries on that. But again, mark your calendars. That'll be December 20th. At our Great Blacksmith Christmas Giveaway live stream, and that will be at our normal time. So that'll be from 5 to 7 p.m. and it's probably going to be from 5 p.m. till whenever. So it will be a large stream. It's the largest stream, blacksmithing giveaway stream on the internet, period, anywhere in the world. We will be giving away basically constant prizes, hanging out. I'll be forging some stuff. It'll be a good time. So it's going to be a great evening, and really mark that on your calendars. And that's 5 to whenever Eastern Standard Time. So if you want to get a part of that, that'd be a great thing to do. So that is our 8th annual Great Blacksmith Christmas Giveaway live stream. It's hard to believe we've done that for 8 years now, solid. That's a long time. So Jessica had it written down here. The 8th annual Great Blacksmith Christmas Giveaway live stream will take on Friday, December 20th, starting at 5 p.m. And again, it'll go to wherever, and that'll be on YouTube, of course, right back here for that. And then she said points of interest. Stay in touch through the newsletter, of course.
That's right.
So, of course.
I think you got everything
awesome.
covered.
Yeah. The giveaway items for tonight. I will talk about that a little bit, and then I can get into thumping some hot iron.
Okay.
We will be having a member stream tonight after this stream. I believe we're going to be having that at 9 p.m., Jess, right?
Yes,
For
that's
the
correct.
channel members, we will be having a 9 p.m. to 10 or 11 p.m. tonight stream for channel members. So if you are a channel member of this channel, you will be receiving a link to that. You'll be seeing that here soon, later this evening. So be in touch for that. But so our giveaway items for tonight is going to be one of our double bay guillotine tools and one of our single bay guillotine tools, all in honor of Thomas almost losing a finger over this past
He's here,
week.
by the way.
Thomas, my hand model.
Yeah, he's here.
Oh, Thomas is here. Yep. He decided to go downstate with them yuppies down, down south, and you know, about took his finger away from him for him.
Yes. Speargrass said, Thomas, didn't you learn from Roy, don't attempt to forge fingers?
Yeah, forging fingers don't really work that well. There's a big squish before a crunch, and then it you know, doesn't pan out too well. So in Thomas's honor, we will be giving away a single lever action guillotine tool and a double lever action guillotine tool there, so, or double bay guillotine tool as we like to call it. So that way you can keep your pretty little digits away from hammers and tops of dies. Just another good reason why they're the best. And yes, am I hoping to make a profit off of Thomas's misfortune? Yes, indeedy. They hobbled my guy. Oh yeah, so Thomas has been out of the shop all this week, and so I've had to go from a shop of 2 guys doing 4 guys worth of work to 1 guy doing 4 guys worth of work. So it has been quite a busy week for me, but we've muscled through and got it done, and hopefully Thomas will be back up, you know, and this weekend and ready to start Monday on light stuff like clerical work and pointing at things with his big finger.
He says the lever would be nice.
That it would. So, but anywho, so there's the updates. That's what we're going to be doing. So we'll be giving those tools away at some time this evening. But I'm gonna get some steel on the fire, get it hot, and start working it. The material size that I'm starting with is 1/2 inch square. Go to camera 2, Jess.
All right.
This is a random scrap length of 1/2 inch square bar stock. Just an end cut off of another project I was working on. This will be the material. I don't care much about the length because that's all going to get drawn out into a handle. All I care about right now is just the nibs and working on that. So that's the size, starting stock size is 12.5 mil, or roughly 1/2 inch square. So.
Keith says, just shipped a box today to Thomas's address. There's some stuff in it for him, and then he can get my donations to you for the Great Christmas Giveaway.
Awesome. Is he shipping it to Thomas?
To Thomas, yeah.
Okay, good.
Yep.
We greatly appreciate it. Oh, I should have bounced back up to that. I said I was going to do that, didn't I?
You did.
Okay, so for anybody who wants to, while this heats up here, for anybody who wants to take and send something for the Great Blacksmith Christmas Giveaway live stream, you know, preferably tooling is preferred because we're trying to get good tools in the hands of, you know, new smiths and older smiths alike out there. You can send that to Christ Centered Ironworks, P.O. Box 516, Harrisville, Michigan, 48740. All this information is located in the description of this video. So you just press that little down arrow, little drop down, or the little more if you're on mobile, and that will pop open, you know, the description of this live stream, and you can find out more about all that. And then the last thing I forgot is the giveaway tonight is open worldwide. So anywhere in the world, we will ship these guillotine tools.
Yeah. Speargrass says, absolutely make a profit. What not to do with Thomas Goodymoot, Thomas's new segment.
Yeah. Yeah.
Speargrass says, I'll send 2 books, Roy. Get it ordered and shipped today.
Awesome. Thank you, Speargrass. Much appreciated.
Yeah, I think Keith was trying to rally the troops and said send enough. He wanted to get everybody to send enough that the Christmas live stream goes for 9 hours nonstop.
If we have enough stuff to give away, we will. Yeah, so the giveaway is a little light this evening, just because we're going to save up our money for the Great Blacksmith Christmas Giveaway live stream. So we're waiting on that. There's going to be a bunch, and I do mean a bunch of goodies during that stream there. So, all right, we can go to camera 2, Jess.
Okay.
All right. Secret to work in heavy material by hand is to get it quite hot. I'm going to choose an arbitrary area, which is roughly about 2.5 inches, which is the hardy hole to the back anvil edge here, or the near side edge of the anvil. And that's where I'm going to set down the start of my jaw. And now I can move it away from that, now that I've got my first datum point established. Now I'm not going to overly forge this. I'm just creating that first set down that you would do like if you were working a pair of tongs. Not much to see there. Put this back in there.
Rob Huff says 1/2 inch is heavy material.
It is indeed, my friend. It is indeed. Go to the main cam, please.
Yep.
I'm going to zoom in a bit more. That way people can see a little bit better. And that camera always has to be refocused.
We got some questionable blinking here.
Uh-oh.
I think we're going to get a few drop frames. Give it a minute to clear up.
Okay. Are we doing all right or no?
It's going between yellow and red at the moment.
Okay. Kids are not on the internet, are they, inside?
I will message them and make sure they're not.
Affecting our internet service, yeah, if they're streaming right now.
Yeah.
It is the time of the hour where people get off work. We're starting to get spotty internet service, so.
All right, we're green again.
Okay, we're green again? Good.
Yep.
Hopefully, all bear with us. Internet's a little spotty right now. So hopefully it'll be clear for the rest of the evening.
Yep, Corey, we had a little bit of buffering. Keith says, circle of death. That's why this guy is the least likable blacksmith.
It's always why I'm the least likable blacksmith. Oh. All right, so with bent knee tongs, you'll make everything like you would normally make them. And usually you make 2 identical halves, right? You make 2 identical halves for a pair, and then you flip one over onto the other, and that lines up your jaws and everything is in line. With bent knee tongs, however, you are going off to one side with the jaw. So you will make both jaws starting out, your set downs for your boss area, all that you will do like a normal pair of tongs, but with one difference or one trick. The bent knee tongs, you need one jaw to go to the left, and you need the other jaw to go to the right when you're making them up. And that sounds weird, but remember when you flip it over, they'll both be pointing to the left or to the right, depending on how you're holding the pair of tongs. So it'll make a little bit more sense once we get a little further down the process, but just keep that in mind that from your offset, from your first set down, you will either, if you bend the jaw to the left, and you bend it around to the left, and you know that it's offsetted there, you're going to make the next jaw that is offsetted the same, but you're going to bend it to the right. So this way when it flips over, it's right on top of the other one. So it's a little screwy, it's a little different. This will catch you this will catch you unawares if you're not ready for it. So let's go to the secondary cam, Jess.
Okay.
Okay. Square up the end there just a little bit. Remember, the squarer you make things, better off you are. All right, and in this, I'm going to stick off, I'm going to leave about an inch gap or spacing, and I'm going to bend the rest of this at a 90 degree. that's the goal. And we're bending it hard ways. That's enough for one heat. Do we see the set down?
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's clear.
So we see the set down and the jaws bending to the left. Mm-hmm. What I mean by making two halves, you make two halves with the set downs exactly the way they are, how they, you set over the jaw and everything. All that'll be the same, except the top jaw, while you're looking at it, will be bent to the right, so when it flips over, it sits right on top of the other L. Now that's not quite at a 90. I got to get another heat to upset that back into a perfect 90-degree corner, and I'll do that now.
Yeah, come to think of it, it's actually our internet throughout the day has been a little slow in the house too. So there was a couple of times where I was trying to load up like an email, and normally those are text and they don't take any time at all, and it took like 15 seconds. So
just a slow day for internet then,
yeah. Keith says, I love my knee tongs for making tomahawks. I used to make some in multiple sizes.
Yep, they're a very handy pair of tongs to have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you guys are pulling up all the old jokes. Yeah, I can't forget the toilet spoon.
All right, this is good and hot, babe.
All right.
Back to the anvil. Should get a little more heat into that corner to dress it up nicely, but get a little more heat into there to upset it a bit more and get that nice little corner in there. It's not really needed for bent knee tongs. Bent knee tongs can just be a sweep if you want them that way. Mm-hmm. Although they do look a little more professionally done if they're a sharp, crisp 90 out at the end of the tong. Not completely necessary, but they are a little nicer. Questions, Jess?
David Reednor says, this may be a project once I am able to forge again, making a bent pair of tongs. Yeah. Well, we'll show you how to do it. How's that?
Yep.
C&J Forge said, I was told less than 2 minutes ago that my father has early dementia. Thank you for choosing this charity.
You're very welcome. Sorry to hear that.
My grandmother has dementia, and she's had it for a number of years. So, yep, we decided this would be a good one, and it was suggested to us by one of our regular followers, so we decided to go for it.
My grandpa had that as well.
Yep. Redneck Forge says, I have not been able to get in here in time to watch a live stream for a while. I'm happy I made it today.
Glad to have you, Redneck Forge.
Keith says, have to say, don't think I've seen knee tongs with an upset square corner. It's going to look sharp.
Yeah. Again, usually knee tongs, again, they could just be a sweep. Go to camera 2, Jess. They could just be a sweep, but they look crisper, just a little nicer with an upset square corner to them. They have more intentionality to them. And since Rob Huff's here, you see this, Rob? This is something you can never do with a rounding hammer. You see that right there, pal? Aw, yeah.
Corey says, Miss Jessica, I've heard it said that the comet/asteroid that's in our orbit for a couple of months is what is affecting the radio, TV, and internet service. Unsure if it's true.
Huh.
Yeah, might be.
Sounds cool.
Just blame it on the comet.
Yeah, it's good enough for a pair of tongs. I can spend a little more time crisping that up with a lightweight hammer. But that'll be good enough for a pair of tongs.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
What's that look like to you?
It looks like
Look
a little.
all right?
Yeah. Looks like a little foot.
How's it look to the community? Look sharp enough for their liking?
Mm-hmm. I think so. Rob says, just tilt your hammer. Easy.
Yeah, good luck, buddy. Getting that hammer in there. Challenge. Challenge. Let's see it, my friend. Let's see it.
Pogie Forge says, Rob saying, here, hold my beer.
Yeah.
Speargrass says, you can totally do that with a turning hammer. Use the flat side. I'm with you, Rob.
Oh, yeah, totally can do it. All right, that's got the look I want. I'm happy with it. Mm-hmm. Now, here's a good point to point out about upset square corners. Upset square corners are, how do I want to say? They're not truly a square corner. So what I mean by that is you're not actually bending something at a hard 90 and creating a hard 90. It's a trick of the eyes, essentially. What I've done is I've moved more mass or more material from various other portions, mainly the surface here, this surface, and this surface. I have pushed material into the corner. So I have filled out this corner, so to speak, if you will, with the material that's from here to here, right? So from the tip of this out and the back here forward. I have filled that corner with that material. Now, when you make a bend, when you make a 90-degree bend on something, the inside likes to compress. Well, it doesn't like to compress. It's compressing. And when it's in compression, what does it do? It doesn't want to go the way you want it to go, so it goes the path of least resistance. So it ends up puckering on the face here, there and there, right? You get this weird pucker type thing there. Now, that is material that you can also use to push into that corner. So when you saw me dressing out this piece, when you saw me dressing the face of this piece, I am removing that thickening that's happening in the crook here, and I am pushing it towards that outside corner as well with my hammer blows. So once you understand that an upset square corner is not an actual bend, it is a forging practice. Once you understand that that's not actually a bend, it's actually an illusion of the eye, then you can take and do upset corners very, very quickly. And my general upset corners in practice that I like to do in just regular square bars is different from anybody else that I have found to do upset square corners. And it's because I can make an upset square corner in roughly a heat to 2 heats, which is really unheard of for upset square corners. Because usually they take a lot of beating here, beating there, hammering back this way, hitting here, going back there, beating back this way, and you have to do all this like really heavy upset stuff. But what I do is I provide an area of a mass of material, and then I sharpen the corner, and then I just bend it straight and form the inner in just a few heats. So it does not take that long to produce that sharp 90-degree outside corner and sharp inside square corner as well. And then where you see people where they have like nice big radii in here and stuff like that, Again, illusion of the eyes. You can just have a radius on your anvil somewhere. Mine are all mostly sharp. Or over the horn to produce that inner profile like you like once you've done your bin and you've created, essentially, put your material in the right places to create your corner. So a upset square corner is not an actual bend. It starts as a bend, but it's an illusion to the eyes. And there's things that you can do to take and help with that. One of the most common ways of doing this, second most common way of doing this, is you do a draw away method. So what you do is you fuller away material from the left and the right of where your eventual corner is going to be, or you upset enough material to where it creates kind of a peak, and then you bend the corner on that peak and then flatten it out, and you've got that sharp outside corner. So that's the draw away method, is where you draw, basically you leave a boss, like a little doot sticking up, that becomes the sharp outside corner bend. That's a valid way of doing it. The slowest way, literally the slowest way, is when you come in here and you're hammering here, hammering here, hammering here, going there, hitting here, hitting there, and you're trying to constantly compress that corner into the corner, because what you're doing is you're compressing the material and you're thickening things, but you're not forming that outside corner joint first, which is the whole point, is to get that sharp outside corner to begin with. You want to have that nice sharp outside corner, and then when you go to finish it off, this inside, very important, stay smooth and radiused. When you go to finish this thing off, then you set it and you drive it in hard at a sharp edge of your anvil, and that's what finishes off the corner to where you don't get any hot shuts or cold shuts or overlapping or anything like that. Because that's one of the biggest things that people fight with when they're making these corners. So that's just some quick advice on doing that. There was a lot happening in a very little time that you guys can't really see when you're watching through the camera. You're seeing just a snippet of the hammer hitting in a half a millisecond, and then it's moving on, right? Doing something else. But you're not really seeing like the logic, like the various little tiny techniques that I'm using to form a corner very quickly. I think this was what, 3 heats?
I think so.
Or
yeah.
so?
Mm-hmm.
There you go. So there you have it. There's some advice for upset square corners. Mm-hmm. Now, go back to main cam.
Yep.
Now, when I make tongs, I go to a point. So what that means is I will stop this jaw right here, and I will trade off now, and I will bring the next section of bar stock to this exact point. I want them to look alike, that way I can compare them as I go. I want them to look alike, I can get all that figured out before I go on to drawing out reins and setting boss areas and all that other stuff. I get it to a point, and I progress both pieces to in stage, and that's the way I end up with a perfect matched set. So I'll set this aside, and I will bring this other piece of 1/2 inch bar stock I have up to temp, and we shall do the same things.
All right. We got a few questions in regards to your process.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. Let's see. First of all, comment. Josh Montgomery says the bees are jealous of that knee. The bees' knees.
Great comment. Best comment 2024.
Speargrass says, is there a reason that you did the corner before doing the jaw/boss offset?
Yes. So I've left the jaw. This is a good point. I'll answer this real quick. Mm-hmm. Go to camera 2.
Okay.
If you do the offset for the boss, you are thinning this material, and it's going to bend exactly where the thinnest portion of this piece is. So I need to leave the boss area robust. I need it to be really robust in order to bend this hard ways and forge and form out my jaw, my nibs, right? So I need this to counteract or resist. Even while I was working this bar was bending, if you guys saw me correct it a couple times. If I would have already pre-thinned this, the area that'll become the boss here to take the rivet, then it would just instantly bend like crazy right there and just work back and forth, and I would develop a fracture right at the jaw to the boss area transition. So I'm leaving it thick right now so I can form the hardest portion of these tongs and get that right first. I have to get the jaws right first. Once they're right, the rest is a breeze. You know, I can take my chances with the rest of it. But that's why I've left that alone, is I've left the thickness where it can support the work that I'm doing. Hopefully that makes sense. That's a great question.
All right. Hello, Athel Ironworks.
Hey there, Athel. Good to have you.
Swizzle Tech says, does that cause a stress fracture issue?
Where?
Where the 90 degree is?
Nope. Properly forged items do not have stress fracture issues. So what will happen with people when they're first starting out with making 90-degree corners, I did it all the time, is, you know, you get two planes, right? So you get two surface planes like this, okay? You get a sharp inside radius, and then you think that that radius should just thicken out as you upset, but it doesn't do that. You get what they call suck down. So as you hammer on that piece to square up that outside corner, right, what happens is the grain shifts from one to the other, and I'm showing it to you on a big scale, but basically it creates a suck down, and then there's a lap, right? There's a lap, and then you compress that even more, and as you compress it, that moves that line into that classic 45-degree angle that you guys see, where you get a stress crack across the corner of the joint. And that's what that is. That is the grain colliding in the corner, and it has nowhere to go. It has nowhere to flow to. So it just stacks up on itself, and it creates a cold shut. It creates a crack or a stress riser right into that corner. So you leave the inside of the corner radiused until the outside of the corner is pointed. And that's what I'm trying to say, that the method that's kind of, it's the quintessential method. It's the first way I learned how to do it. It's the textbook way. I would say is the wrong way of doing it, because it leads to those failures literally all the time. Because an upset square corner isn't really, technically, it is not actually a bend. It's not a bend, and it's not really an upset square. It's not an upset square. What's happening is you're moving the surface material from one plane, the outside, talking about the outside of the bend, you're moving that surface material into the corner. And in that way, it is upsetting into the corner, right? And then you form the inside sharp corner later. That's a draw away method. So it's just like as if you butchered into the corner with a chisel. And so therefore, all the grain structure remains intact. On the inside of the corner, it becomes compressed, but it's not in a shear plane. It's not in a shear grain pattern. And on the outside of the corner is compressed to the outside of the corner, so therefore the joint is neutral. It's in a neutral state. The outside of the corner is not stressed. It's not being stretched apart. No, those grains are put back into the corner, and it's in a neutral environment. So an upset square corner, in the way that I'm describing to make one, is you're not going to break it. You're not going to break it. So under any circumstance other than superhuman strength. So, Nope. Great question.
Kel the Blacksmith says, where did y'all get the name bent knee tongs? In all my years, we've called them axe eye tongs. And my friend is a professional medieval armor. He calls them sheet metal tongs.
So bent knee is a very old term for them. When I got in the craft, people called them bent knee tongs. Some people call them axe eye tongs, depending on how the jaw's made up. If the jaw's offset and it's made to grip around an axe eye specifically. I've also heard them being called wagon maker tongs. So for like wagon wheels, they were a very popular thing in wagon, what do we call it? Wheelwright shops. It wasn't wagon wheel shops, but wheelwright shops were very common to see a whole bunch of those bent knee tongs on there. So it's just a technical jargon. I wouldn't get hung up on it. So if you call them axe eye tongs, that's probably just because somebody was making axes with them, and that's what they got called just in that shop. You know, some people call them offset jaw tongs. I don't think that that's true to what they are. They're not really an offset jaw. An offset jaw is a little different of a pair of tongs. So I have always called them, for 16 years, I've called them bent knee tongs, and I've heard them called bent knee tongs. So I don't know if that's the correct terminology for them. But they are they were very big in wheelwright shops for gripping hoops. You know what I mean? For gripping hoops, and also made in a way to where they could work with cone mandrels, working around cone mandrels where there's that slot in a cone mandrel. They would use these, you know, wheelwright tongs, if you want to call them. I'm not a wheelwright, so I'm going to call them a bent knee tong, like I was, you know, originally trained to do. So, good question. I wonder where. I wonder where certain jargons come from, but I think it depends on really your location on the earth, right? I could be wrong. Maybe they called them something different, completely different in England, right? You know, like it could be a completely different name for it. I'm sure it is. It's just what I've learned to call them. So.
Possum says, excellent tip for making tongs that match. I struggled until I made the halves at the same time. Much easier to make a matched pair.
I'm glad that's helpful. Thank you. Thank you for the admonishment of the tip. Yeah, one of the biggest mistakes I made starting out making tongs is I would try to, like, I would make one half I was really proud of, and it was like great, and it looked great, and man, I just struggled to make the second half look like the first. And the second one, again, I'm already tired from beating out the first half, right? The second was always just worse than the first that I made, and nowhere even close. And it didn't matter how much I measured the material and laid everything out, they just always came out like crud. And so I took to saying, well, I taught myself how to make tongs. It wasn't necessarily like I've seen other people make tongs, but just kind of out of necessity of like, okay, what am I doing wrong here? So I decided to make both halves at the same time and progress them through each stage. And every pair of tongs I've made since then are like super close. Like, I mean, almost identical. To the untrained eye, they would be identical. Obviously, there's going to be differences, but you know, ever since then, so it was just kind of out of necessity. I was like trying to figure out why I was doing something wrong. Right? Why is this second half always coming out wrong? I'm doing the same steps, and well, that's why. I was doing the same steps, but you know, I drew extra. Maybe I drew another 1/8 inch out on the bit or the nibs before I bent them. You know what I mean? Well, if you look at them at that stage, you're like, oh, okay, hey, no, this one's a little longer. I need to draw that one a little longer, right? Or, hey, this one's a little short. I need to draw it up, or right? You can see very quickly if you go stage by stage versus having one totally finished off pair of tongs that's ready to be completed, and then you're like, what did I do again? So it's something I struggled with early on, and so, you know, that was the best thing I could come up with. And there's so many things that affect that too. If you start making tongs and you start half a pair of tongs in a gas forge, and then you go to a coal forge at your buddy's house and you make the other half of your pair of tongs, they're going to be worlds different. They're going to be worlds different because of the amount of heat, how you localized it, right? How you used it, right? Maybe you drew down one half of your pair on the power hammer. Maybe you did one pair by hand. All those little things will add up to changing the dynamics. So let's go to camera number 2, Jess.
Okay.
Using the Hardy hole as my same kind of fixed datum point just to get my initial set. Then I'm going to draw this down. Now, one other thing that I'm doing here that I'll explain real quick is I'm drawing this wider in width, so it's thinner in this cross section and wider in this cross section than what the finished pair will be. I'm doing that because I'm going to take all this extra mass and I'm going to use that to help form my outside corner when I bend the tongs. So, something to think about there. Enough, square it up. That's reasonable. Looks like it has roughly the same amount of material out as it did prior. Looks like it here too as well. Looks pretty all right to me. Mm-hmm. All right. Remember, folks, in forging, the cleaner you can keep each step of the excuse me, a little indigestion. The cleaner you can keep each step of your forging process, the nicer the final result will become. Okay? The best way you can showcase this, best way that this can be showcased is with scroll work. Scroll work is a perfect example, and it's a mean mistress. It really, really is. It really, really highlights if you've done poor work. If you've done a poor job of drawing out a nice, even taper and thin taper on your scroll, it will show up. Like if there's a bunch of lumpy bumps, like hammer marks into the piece, it will show up once you start rolling this scroll up. If your finial that you made, there's something incorrect about it or it's not properly formed, and the finial is the interior portion, the very center of that scroll, it will show up once it is buried amongst a bunch of lines of scrolls and you can't get back in there and fix it, okay? So it's a great highlighter of this exact thing where you want to be mindful of your forging as you go along. You'll see me swipe my anvil clean, keep a clean surface. That way I'm not embedding cold scale into a hot surface of steel. It'll help improve its surface finish. I make sure that I clean up and I tidy up my forging a little bit on each heat before I go to the next stage, and I make sure that the thing's already clean. That way I have less cleanup work and I have less forging to do where I might over forge the piece in its final steps and start causing some stresses to be where they shouldn't. So taking your time to make sure each step of the process is nice and clean in the way you want it is very, very important.
Bill Will says I need to make at least a half dozen of tongs. I only have 2 at the moment.
Oh no. You get after it, man. Get after it.
Speargrass says recently had to make some specific tongs for 6mm 1/4 inch out of 10mm 3/8 inch. Things are nice with fitting tongs, but even better with stock specific tongs.
Yeah. Tongs are kind of one of those very first challenging mechanical things to make in a blacksmith shop. Just about everything else you make in a blacksmith shop is like a lump of metal becoming a sharper pointed lump of metal or a dollar pointed lump of metal. Like most things in a blacksmith shop, right? Like Bics or hot cut Hardys or bending forks or anything like that, they're usually one solid piece forgings. And tongs always trip people up because they actually have to function. They're a mechanical joint, right? They have a mechanical joint, and you'll know when they are a wonky pair of tongs and they don't work right. And so they are something that trips up many a smith, including me, from time to time, even today. Like I'll be trying to make some interesting set and fail and throw, 2 hours of work away, right? Because I was on new territory and it had to teach me something. I'm like, I started with the wrong stock size. Well, I'll set this aside and go with bigger or go down a stock size or whatever. They always have something to teach you, but the principle of making a hinged joint is pretty simple, but it trips you up. It trips you up. It's kind of your first foray into something that has to function and not just be the form itself. A hot cut Hardy just has to function, but as long as it's got a blade on the end, it's going to cut, right? Like as long as it's got a sharp edge, it's going to cut. It's going to do its thing. You know, same thing with a hammer. A hammer is just a lump of steel with a hole put through it at its basic of elements. Now you can make it ornate and you can do all sorts of different stuff to it, but at the end of the day, it's still a lunk of steel with a wooden stick stuck through it. So, so it's one of those deals you have to just work with what you got, take your time, know that you're not God's gift to the smithing humanity, right? And you'll get there. Does everybody see how this isn't at a 90-degree angle while I'm upsetting that nib where I want it? Mm-hmm. See how it's at a 45? That's to allow that grain structure. And you see how I'm sharpening up that corner. See, I'm slowing down in real time now. See how that corner's sharper? Mm-hmm. Yep. On the outside? Mm-hmm. That's what I mean by this being a complete, it's a play on the eyes. It's not really a sharp bend. It's just a sharp upset corner. I gotta get another heat because I've let it cool down to talk, and that will affect how this one looks when it goes onto the other piece. It will affect that. So previously, if I figured it out right, this one went left, this one went right. So this way, with the offsets, when I put my two offsets together, I flip this over, it's going to sit in the correct orientation. If that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Yeah. To everybody. Mm-hmm. I don't have another pair of tongs where I can touch this just yet, but I'm going to form this out a little bit more, and then we will take a look at it, and we will do any adjustment we have to. Mm-hmm. But I'm going to keep forming this outside corner first. Mm-hmm. Now, is anybody really enjoying this? Let us know in the comment section if you're enjoying the forging with some teaching here.
Rob Huff says you made a hockey stick.
Made a hockey stick. Get a snapshot of that.
Bill Will says, I'm not sure if I like mild steel tongs. They bend at the jaw too easily and it doesn't fit tight or doesn't fit right after a bit.
All my tongs are mild steel except for these. All my handmade tongs are mild steel. So I would argue that a properly made, a properly thick pair of mild steel tongs will hold up fine. But with mild steel, obviously it's not like spring steel. You can't get away with getting thin cross sections on mild steel because it's going to bend. So if you overly forge, the transition joint between the jaw and the boss, that's the most common area for tongs to be weak. And then from the boss to the reins, that's another thing. Like if you overly forge that too thin, I've seen guys really thin that area out and it not be a higher caliber steel than mild steel, it will bend there and it won't hold right. Like you're absolutely right on that. And like that just takes experimentation to be able to do it right. And you know, depending on your time, it may not be worth it to you. I've heard that, I believe it's 8620 is what it's called. And it's kind of like it's a surface, it's basically like a good surface wear steel. It keeps a soft ductile core while it has a harder outside shell. They tend to use that a lot. Or they used to in tongs. That's what they used to use, was an 8620 is what they were made from. And so and they were touted as a really like the best pair of tongs out there. Now, this has been 16 years ago or so, so you can take that with a grain of salt. Again, they had their own following of people who are all tongs, and other people are like, oh, they're garbage. So, you know, take that with a grain of salt. You know, do with it what you will. But yeah, if you don't forge mild steel tongs thick enough, you will have those problems. All right, anvil cam.
Okay. And yes, everybody said they love it a lot. Black Cat Forge says enjoying it. Gibbering Gaming says yes. Wayne says love it, Roy. Awesome instruction.
Awesome. Glad you all are enjoying it.
Rob Huff says, I was food prepping earlier. I think I'll do a stream soon and get my rounding hammer into that spot. That said, though, not my 5.5 pound rounding hammer isn't going to easily do that, but my 2 pound will, though.
So he says. Well, bring it on, Rob. Bring it on. I'm ready to see it.
Nathan Wilson says, cheers from Middle Tennessee.
Hey, cheers. Good to have you.
Jesse Dunn says, hard to believe I found this YouTube channel 2 years ago. I've missed a few lives here and there, but I've learned a lot here as well as met a lot of great people.
Good to have you. It is a long time, ain't it? Long time when you're having fun. Or something like that. I'm comparing it to my other one here, comparing notes. Yep, I still got some mass there I can push around into that 90, so I'm going to do exactly that.
See, Stephen White said a little earlier, said, miss moving metal. I set up a forge, then my shoulder went out, had surgery. It was too painful to work. Then I moved to a neighborhood where I can't build a forge. A couple of people had given him some suggestions. Another one that I didn't see mentioned was if you're just doing it for fun, you might be able to go to a historical village and volunteer basically to be their blacksmith, because there's a lot of those where they don't have enough volunteers to keep demos going and stuff like that.
One of my biggest suggestions is get part of your local blacksmithing club or organization. A lot of times, even if they don't have a central location like SOFA does, where everybody meets on a designated, once a month, like a first Saturday of the month, a lot of times they have mobile blacksmith shops. A lot of blacksmithing clubs and organizations do, where, you'll go around to various guys who are hosting a blacksmithing get-together. And they usually have like U-Forge areas and things like that. So I highly recommend you to do that to at least get your blacksmithing fix while you live in the big city there. All right, camera number 2, Jess.
Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy to me what you can do, what's allowed and disallowed in this country. Sometimes it kind of, I don't know, it's interesting, You would think some stuff would be like, oh, that's a perfectly harmless thing. But blacksmithing, nah. Drugs, why not? Go for it. I don't know. Crazy.
Yeah, I think you said he lived in a condominium now.
Well, a condo, yeah, you're to have that. Condos, homeowner associations, things like that. They can be a bit trying.
Harold Hotchkiss says hello from hot and sticky Texas.
Hello, hot and sticky Texas. You said it was Harold?
Yeah.
Hey, Harold.
What is it, like 70 or 80 degrees there?
Trying to form this out with the look that I want. Sometimes that takes a little bit. As I was forging this piece had a bit of a rhombus to it, and that's why the outside profile in my corner wasn't looking as nice as I want it. So I might just take one more touch-up heat on that to get her finally where I want her. And that 90 is almost perfect on the other set of tongs. Let me grab an extra pair of tongs here, and I'll show what I mean. That way they don't just have to take my word for it.
Yeah, looks pretty
All right.
similar.
So here's the pair we're working on. Here's the pair that's already been done. Looking pretty close. And obviously I haven't forged the offsets in yet. But by the time I put the offset in there, if I lay these bars on top of each other, my nibs are pretty much the same dimensionally. We see?
Yeah.
Almost makes me look like I know what I'm doing, huh? Almost. Kinda. Not really.
Oh, you know a thing or two.
Know a thing or two, because I've seen a thing or two. No.
Melissa Wilson points out the North Texas Blacksmith Association is having their hammer in tomorrow in Frisco, Texas.
Woohoo!
I've been to Frisco. There's a Walmart, and if I remember correctly, it had like a mural, and it said Frisco. Like, that's the only thing I remember about Frisco.
I've been to Frisco. They got a really great super value there.
It's been a long time.
Jeez, Jess. They're rated #2 on TripAdvisor, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
She's like, they got a Costco and everything. Would you believe it? I love it.
Thomas says he'll be back later. He's going to get some dinner.
Who?
Thomas.
Thomas, take care, buddy.
Keith says, sometimes I think it would be cheaper and less harmful to myself to be addicted to drugs.
Oh, well, it might be.
Cheaper, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I don't know if it's cheaper. Maybe less harmful? I don't know. Probably no on both counts, I would say. So you're going to have one hell of a dental plan if you do that.
Yeah.
But if you ain't got no teeth, go right
If you
ahead.
don't want teeth, I mean, sure. Mark Wojnowski says, if anyone needs snow, you can come get all you want in Colorado. I did see a picture my mom sent. She lives in the Springs, and yeah, they got a decent snowfall.
They already started, huh?
Yep.
Well, good. About time.
Yeah, it's like 46 here right now. Feeling a little colder. We're not quite freezing yet, though.
I wouldn't mind if it was freezing. Let's be honest. All right, camera number 2. This heat, I'm really not doing a lot. All I'm doing, this is just the beauty heat, if you will. I'm not compressing a lot. I'm just trying to get my outside corner to look like I want it to. So this is literally just a presentation heat. There's no real serious forging going on here or pushing of surfaces. It's just getting everything kind of planished up nicely to look good for those final stages in the next stage in the operation there. One of the biggest compliments I think on my work that I've ever received, I took a hacksaw making, sawtooth frame class where I made a sawtooth trammel frame for candles, candle holders. Some of you guys remember that from a few years back. A man who I greatly admire and look up to in his work by a ton, by the name of Tom Latinay. He's a master locksmith up in Pepin, Wisconsin. It was his class that he was teaching, and one of the biggest, kind of one of the biggest compliments that I received from him while I was in class, which again means the world, means the world to me anyhow, especially if you know Tom Latney's work and the caliber of his work he does. But he came over to one of my stations and I said, well, what do you think, while I was working? And, I said, what do you think of this kind of, do I need to do anything different? And we can go to the main cam, Jess. There you go. That's good to go. I said, do I need to do anything different? And he just told me, he said, no, it's perfect. He said, that is very meticulous smithing. Is very, very well done. And what people don't understand is that my challenge, it was a challenging class to be sure, but one of the challenges I had for myself going to that class, just a personal challenge, if you will, was I wanted to smith every single piece to perfection. Not have to break out a bunch of files, not have to, get out a hacksaw later and cut things off or file things to shape. I wanted to forge as close as humanly possible to dimension, and I'm glad to say that I was able to do that. Basically forge everything almost to perfect dimension. The only thing I had to touch with a file was the tenon, and I barely had to scuff it to tenon all my stuff together, the cross arms of the candle cup holders, and that was it. But everything was brought to perfect dimension with hand, anvil, and hammer. And that's something I strive for in my own personal work. Bit of a perfectionist when it comes to that. But yeah, that's the kind of smith I want to be. And, and I was absolutely honored for a smith like Tom Latney to say that that particular piece of work was perfect and very meticulously forged, because to get that kind of high mark from him is a great honor. So I was really, really thankful for that. So that's something I always strive for in my work, and I think it's something that we can all do if we give ourselves enough time, right, to observe and try to get better at it, and not just try to thump pieces of metal into shape, right? If we try to think about it like, how would a surgeon go about doing something very meticulously? And so that's something I always strive for. We can go to camera number 2, Jess.
All right.
I'll show this off. So this is the one we just finished up. Now I've got a little extra bend in this, a little extra swoop. I'm going to go ahead and increase the swoop in this one to match because they're not quite right yet. But if I lay these on together, get them lined up, they are bang on where they need to be. They are bang on in thickness where they need to be. And the ends, show off the ends. This one I'm holding in my hand. I'm going to dress it just a little bit because that end's not perfectly square. But they are bang on in thickness. Do we see?
Yep.
You have to trust your eyes, ladies and gents. You have to trust your eyes. It will infer to you. See how they're perfectly square?
Yep. Yep.
As you can see, the surface finish of this one that I just finished forging is a little shinier, right? If I glint it in the light, that means this is more finished. This is more exacting to dimension than what this one is. This one doesn't shine as much, especially on that end. If you look at the very end, see how that one flashes you?
Yep.
But this one, not so much. That means there is a facet here. It's not perfectly refracting the light, bouncing against the surface and back to the camera there. So I know this one needs to be cleaned up a little bit with some hammer work, and I can visually tell that here looking at it in person. So when I put the little bit of extra bend in this, I'm going to take the time to clean that up a little bit. And now we're ready to establish our offsets. We can establish the offsets and then draw out the reins. And then that's a bent knee pair of tongs.
Wayne says, wow, Roy, that's total perfection.
And thank you. Trying. Trying hard.
Keith says, Roy, are you going to draw out the nibs to make them easier to use and less bulky?
No, these particular ones, what I will probably make these is I'll make these a pair of bar stock tongs. That's what these are going to become. So they are going to be a little heavier and chunkier for forge welding purposes. So I'm not going to draw them out thin. The other pairs, now that I kind of like the 1/2-inch style, there's definitely enough mass here to do what I want to do later with. I will be making some really thin, almost, how do I want to say? So this, instead of being really thick, it's going to start at the nib itself, the start of the nib, and it's just going to come straight down as a bevel, like a really thin bevel. So this way I can get and pinch. It'll still have a wide surface in one direction, but it'll be a taper on the outside of it. So this way I can pinch right in between scrolls and things like that to hold bar stock on really fancy, ironwork for this gate, this grill that I'm working on currently. So that I will be making several different styles of these with the bent off to the one side because they really work well for that. But these particular ones I'm going to leave as bar stock pretty thick. I'm going to leave these pretty thick because there are some things I need to do where I need to have a good thick pair that won't get burned up in the fire easily because I need to hold some pieces together, if that makes sense. Good question, though.
Twisted Iron Project says snowing right now in southern Wyoming. I wasn't ready for it for this year, LOL.
Oh, man. You guys are having all the fun. I'm ready for it to snow here. In fact, the next time you see this shop, it'll be decorated for Christmas.
It will be.
And it'll be that way until April or May.
That's right. That's right.
Oh. Yeah, the lights go up and Christmas goes up and it stays in here, in this heart, until all the snow melts away. And then I become sad. I become sad Roy again.
Eli says, am I allowed in here?
Yes, you are, Orange Crush. Get on in here. Good to see you, Eli.
Rigid Ironworks says, yesterday was 6 years drug-free for me.
Congratulations, Rigid Ironworks. Everybody give them a round of applause, if you haven't already done so.
Scott Carlson says, thank you for doing a set of tongs. It's something I really need to work on.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Nothing to her but to do her.
Bill Will says, man is meticulous and everything brute to forge looks factory made.
That is the goal. That is the goal.
Keith says, that's how my knee tongs are, tapered in one direction. Really nice for getting steel out of the coals.
So you said his is tapered in one direction?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. Speargrass asks, is April or May when Thomas is allowed back in the shop?
He's allowed now if he'd show up. So fun fact, because of my meticulous nature with forgings, and because that's a thing that I pride myself on in my work, I do not make a very good competitor in forging competitions because I am not interested in getting things done as quickly as possible. I'm more interested in the final result and how something looks. its surface finish, its grain structure, how properly it was forged or wasn't. That's the things I'm more concerned with. So I'm less concerned. See, now we got that flashing you. Mm-hmm. Can we show that off there? There you go. See it flashing?
Yep.
There you go. Can. And then we got that extra little bit of bend in there, which is good. I can show you that other one. Should be close. Pretty close anyhow. They're not exact, but they're pretty bang on. See how they both shine now?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's what we want. Now we know both the surfaces are correct. And now we can start making up our tongs. Mm-hmm. We'll do our offsets and then draw out our reins. And be in real good shape, hopefully.
Yeah.
Now I'll probably just draw the reins. I'm not going to draw reins out on camera because that's a waste of time. I got a power hammer, so I'll use the power hammer to draw out reins later on, but I will work on doing the offsets now on camera, and that way you guys can see it at least the way it's supposed to look when it all comes together. Mm-hmm. Cool.
Cool. Dunspunky says, I have about 50 foot of scrap half-inch square lying around. With the last few days, I've been wondering if it's sufficient to make tongs. I just got my answer. Thanks, Roy.
Yep, it's sufficient. So, what was the name of that channel? I missed it.
Dunspunky.
Dunspunky, okay. Mm-hmm. So Dunspunky, I'll give you a piece of advice on half-inch. Half-inch leaves zero margin for error. You can really overforge half-inch material and thin things too much when you make the boss. So just be aware of that when you make the boss area, that you can go from being a nice, thick, chunky boss area with good profile, like good grain structure, to being a weak little flimsy thing very, very quickly. So generally speaking, if you can manage it, 5/8 square is better to make tongs from. There's a bunch of heft and mass there that you can then draw down, make a proper boss and form nibs out of a little bit easier than half-inch. So you can still do it in half-inch. Heck, you can make tongs out of 3/8. You can make it out of 1/4 bar stock, but your margin for error gets smaller and smaller the smaller the stock size you go with. You might be, maybe you regularly forge your pair of tongs with, say, a 3-pound or 4-pound hammer. If you go down to the smaller size bar stock, maybe back that size of that hammer down and go a little lighter, or don't hit it as hard. Start hitting it with your purse, so to speak. You know what I mean? Don't gorilla thump it to get its shape, because if you're used to making them out of 1-inch round, right? When you shift down to half-inch, you just obliterate that boss area and over-thin it, overwork it. So just keep that in mind. I'm sure if you've made tongs before, you know what I'm talking about. But yes, half-inch is sufficient. It just removes your margin of error. With 5/8, if you make a wrong hammer blow, just grind it off. It's not going to matter that much, right? Maybe spread it out a bit more than you were anticipating. But on half-inch, you don't got a lot of material there to continue to work with. Mm-hmm. Go ahead, Jess.
Possum says, less material to move means less material you can move without messing up.
Yep, exactly. You just don't have as much. So, hence, that's why, like with forge welding, a lot of old textbooks will tell you to upset before you weld. You want to upset not necessarily the area to be welded, but you want the area to be welded to be upset, but you want a good portion behind that area that will be welded, your scarf, to be upset as well. Because why? It gives you more mass there that you can then blend out a weld with. It helps you thin that out. Whereas if you're forge welding, the smallest weld I've done of chain is 1/8 round. So I've made 1/8 round. I've made a little link forge weld on before. There's no margin there. It's a small hammer. It's half a second to pull it out of the fire and give it a tap and get it welded. And so there's like zero margin for error on stuff like that. And so that's why they don't do that very often, right? They don't do that very often. But, you know, just something to think about there, right? The more mass you have, the easier it is. So like if you were going to weld up an anvil, if all pieces were brought up to welding heat, you got all day long to forge weld an anvil as big as Olga. But if you're trying to make up a little microscopic anvil and you're trying to weld a little high carbon steel plate to the top of it, guess what? You got a very small margin of error to be able to complete that work and get it done. All right, we're going to do the offset on this.
All right.
Now.
The Art of Craftsmanship says, always love a good CCI live stream. And hi, everyone.
Awesome. Hello, hello. Good to have you. All right. So this, I'm going to work with a natural bulge that it already has. I'm going to upset that material down. I'm going to leave it pretty chunky and thick. So I've reduced it by half the material thickness, parent bar thickness. And I'm keeping my forging nice and square and true. I will adjust most of that in future heats once I put everything together. But can we see that?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So I've increased, so I've done my offset.
Mm-hmm.
That offset, that thinning of material one way, is to align the reins so they come together. And then all this here, this material from there out, will be drawn out. Look good?
Yeah. Yeah, it does.
Good. And for those of you wondering, this looks like a pretty small boss area. In this particular case, this boss is going to get punched after the reins are drawn. This area here is going to get punched and drifted open for the rivet. So I'm going to punch with a small punch, and then I'm going to drift it open and finish it to the correct size for the rivet that'll go through here, which will be roughly a 3/8 inch thick rivet. It'll be a 3/8 inch thick rivet that'll go through here. So this here is just a starting spot where I can then punch a small hole through and then drift this larger, and so this boss will actually get larger as it goes. But that'll be in some other heats when I go to finish it up, and that'll be after I draw out the reins.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the first offset for that one. I'd also like to say this. Whenever you're watching a guy online, a guy or gal online, we can go back to main cam, Jess.
What?
Whenever you're watching a guy or gal online make a pair of tongs, keep in mind that tongs are a specialty tool. Tongs are meant to fit the piece or the project that you are working on currently. It might fit other pieces or projects, right? But you yourself have got to have the idea or the concept of what it is, what the ideal type of tongs are for you, right, to suit your purpose. So these dimensions, that's why I haven't given a lot of dimensions, like, oh, I set this off 2 inches and I'm drawing it out to 3 inches or so on and so forth. I haven't given a lot of dimensions to this process, just the process itself. And the reason for that being is I don't know what type of tongs you want to make. These may be the completely wrong dimensions for your particular pair of tongs you're trying to make. So you do have to do a little bit of exploratory forging until you get practice enough to know what type of tongs you want to make, right? It's going to take a little while for you to get that figured out, and that's okay. But that's just something to point out. You want to make the tongs to suit yourself. So if you're watching somebody and they're making a pair of scrolling tongs, and then you try to make one like replicate the scrolling tongs they're making and they don't fit your project, well, it's because you made their scrolling tongs. And their scrolling tongs weren't being made to work on your project, right? So you have to figure out your own math and your own dimensions on that. That is something that you as an individual smith have got to figure out. Like length of reins, that's a personal choice. I like long reins. I like long reins with an integrated tong clip. That's my favorite kind of reins. Very long reins with an integrated tong clip. So I'm going to draw these out probably pretty long. These are going to be some pretty long handled tongs, and they will have an integrated tong clip on the end. Again, if I gave you the dimensions to start with this tong, and I'm like, oh, you need 14 inches of material, and you're like, oh, it's like, geez, I'm drawing this thing out forever. And you only wanted handles that were 10 inches long, right? Well, you're trying to build tongs that I'm needing for my own personal use. So just keep that in mind, that not all tong dimensions are meant to be created equal or to fit, right? Like you got to make your tongs to fit your work. Questions, Jess? Comments?
They're having a membership gifting party in the chat.
Thank you all so much. God bless you all.
Let's see here. Heath Miller gifted memberships to Bill Will, Melissa Wilson, Jesse Dunn, Jack, and Plunder Shop. That was followed up with Rob Huff. He gifted 5 memberships to 3D Woodworks, James Moody, George Anderson, BS Forge Ben, and Rough Hands.
Thank you all so much.
And then that was followed up. It's not over yet.
Good.
Keith gifted 5 memberships to David Henderoni, Andy D, Sean Church, and JT Bullington.
Very awesome. Thank you.
Yes. Yep. And then
keep it up. They can keep battling. That's fine. Yeah. We love you all. Keep it up.
Sarah and Mike G, good to have you.
Hey, Sarah and Mike G. Long time no see.
And Sully says, right on, y'all. Awesome. Yeah, we mentioned this a little earlier, so those who are new members, we are having a member stream at 9 p.m. tonight. It's just kind of us hanging out in the living room chatting with members and answering questions and that kind of thing. So you're all welcome to join us. Where I post the link to that is under, like if you go to our channel, there's like a little tab at the top that'll say members, and then it'll have the link at the very top of that feed.
Yeah, I'm hoping in the new year I'll have some time to implement some changes with the membership stuff, add more benefits for members and things like that. One idea I've been toying around with, which I haven't fully settled on doing yet, just because trying to see the time commitment, is doing, and something we've talked about in the memberships live streams before, is doing an active like online class. So do a online forging class where we get together, we meet as a group, we discuss your progress. It's like a lead thing, so where it might be, say, a few week, like a 1 month forge welding intensive. And, we can get together and like Zoom chat kind of thing and discuss failures and get like one-on-one instruction from me. To be able to get some instructions that way, and adding that as part of membership. So instead of having to buy in on a particular class, right, through an event page or a thing, it's part of the memberships. At a certain tier, you get involved in these class sessions or teaching. So I don't know what the broader audience thinks of that, if that's a cool concept or not. It'd be like having a virtual blacksmith class. Once a week for a month type deal for the membership type deal. But it's a thought. It's a thought I've been running. It's just some thoughts I've been had. I was way super busy this year. Got pulled away on so many different things. I have not had the chance. I've been playing catch up all year this year. So I'm hoping next year that'll be something I can set out for and change. But. All right, go back to Amble Cam Jess, and then we'll take some more comments.
Sure.
All right, so this one, we need to go the opposite of the other. If I'm right, yep. So we're going to put the 90 degree up on this one, same 45 degree angle that we were doing before, roughly. Half on, half off blows. squaring that area up. Reminding myself not to overforge it, which is always important, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just trying to make sure it's all squared up. Looks like it is. For whatever reason, and I think it's because I develop a little twist when I favor the hammer a little bit to one side when I come down, so I think I drag a little bit. I always end up, I've been doing this since, well, the infancy of my blacksmithing career. I always develop this small little twist in the piece when I set down the boss area. I don't know why. It's just something I always do. And so it's very hard to get this, the jaw, perpendicular to the boss. It's very hard to get that perpendicular to the boss perfectly, or square for me. So that's something I usually touch up with a file, or I don't even fight it at the anvil usually. I just heat this up and go in the vise, just tweak it. That way it's back where it needs to be. Mm-hmm. But now hopefully you guys can see how these are basically two tong halves with the offsets made exactly like you would make a pair of tongs, mm-hmm. right? The offset is in the offset from the jaw to the boss, but with the nibs bent 90 degrees away from each other. So when I roll that over, and we might have to thin those bosses out just a fuzz more, or adjust them, which we will. I'll probably not thin them out anymore, but I will adjust the nibs so they overlap each other. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, as we punch and drift these, when this gets punched and drifted, this will naturally thin out the material a bit more. So I'm going to leave it chunky the way it is now, because it's just going to thin the material further when I do that. But that'll come after I draw out the reins. Pretty cool, huh? Mm-hmm. They kind of fit right over the top of each other, right?
They do.
So there you have it. So that is the secret to bent knee tongs. The rest is, well, hyperbole. It's all like you would make a normal pair of tongs. Mm-hmm. It's all the same from here on out. You draw out your reins, punch and drift your hole for your rivet location, right? And then make sure they fit. Mm-hmm. But now you guys can see the difference and how you set that up. So this way they lay over each other correctly. Just like so. Mm-hmm. I line that up the way it's going to be.
The Art of Craftsmanship says, what is your preferred daily driver hammer, style, and weight?
Great question. So my preferred daily driver is the one that I've been using all evening long. So I'll set this off the side. My preferred style is this 1 3/4 pound cross peen. Square face, square peen, or rectangular peen. So it's got a 1/2 inch wide face here. This is a 1/2 inch wide face that's slightly crowned, ever so slightly. And the edges, obviously all edges rounded off a little bit. Not too severe of a rounding, because my hammer matches, this hammer matches the edges of my anvil. So this hammer has the correct radii to match the radius of my anvil where I forge the most on my anvils. So this is about the same. So this way I can use it like a die, if that makes sense, front or back. It's the same radii. They hold it that way. See how it looks like the same radius across both?
Yeah, yep.
So that's what I'm trying, so that matches that. And that's predominantly because I do, even though I got guillotine tools and stuff, I do challenge myself on the regular when I make tenons to draw them down at the edge of the anvil, just to be able to do that good and on the fly. Because as I found when I go and I teach places, a lot of times my tooling doesn't fit. My customized tooling doesn't fit, the club or organization's anvils. So it's handy to be able to draw tenons down by hand at the anvil. And so I make my, I make my hammer to match the sharp radii on my anvil. And yep, so that's it. 1 3/4 pound though. 1 3/4 pound, and it's perfect. We can go back to main cam, Jess. It gives you the right amount of crack at the end of a whip. It's light enough that you don't really feel a lot of weight when you pick it up, right? It's not really hard to overcome the inertia. You don't have to try to get this immense inertia when you pick it up like you would with a much heavier hammer. And I just found that it's just less fatiguing overall. You can just use it all day. Now, I did bring a 3-pound hammer out just in case I wanted to draw down the reins, because at the end of the day, you just can't beat mass at the end of a fulcrum, right? So, the mass at the end of a lever, right, is going to give a lot more thump than what you need. But I consider this is a 3 1/4 pound hammer. I consider this to be heavy a hammer. This is like a heavy sledge for me, a driving sledge for me. Now, Rob's going to make all sorts of fun of that, which he's probably already doing.
He was just saying he uses a 3 1/2 pound. Everybody said what they used, and the general consensus is 2 1/2 pounds.
Yeah, so for me, my smithing style, when I do need to get some whomp on something, I'm the type, I raise my hammer way up and bring it down past my ear almost, as close as I can to my head. I bring it down and get a kind of a crack at the end of the whip when I hit my piece. It's the way I forge, right? With Rob, the way he's doing with his, you said 3 1/2 or 4-pound hammer?
3 1/2, yeah.
So he has a 3 1/2 pound hammer, and he's a big guy, by the way. Rob's a big guy, so he can probably handle that a lot easier too. That 3 1/2 pound hammer, he can monkey with that a lot easier than maybe if you're on a smaller frame. I'm a big guy. It doesn't look like it on camera sometimes, but I am actually I'm not too shabby on the big department. Wish I was a little smaller, but with his, if you notice, his hammer blows are never really up here. They're not, pulling, pulling power from the universe to whack the piece of steel. His is more of a short, punchy blow, right? It's a little smaller, short blow. So he needs that extra mass because he's not getting the velocity into the hammerhead, because he's not trying to swing it like a whip, right? He's not trying to crack a whip, right? He's trying to throw an anchor at the piece. So big difference. This here is like a 4-pound. This is a 4-pound driving hammer, really short handle. I use this for nothing more than cutting off stuff and hitting punches and chisels and things like that, right? It's got a short handle because I'm always working on top of something, right? I'm working on top of something, and I'm not swinging this from up here to wail on something. I'm always hitting just, moving it, a foot or two. And so I need that extra weight and mass to drive a punch or drive a drift or do something like that. And so different hammer sizes for different operations. Most of my work is not heavy tool steel. Most of my work is not large bar cross sections. The larger the steel, the larger the hammers you're going to ultimately have to swing to get it to do what you want, right? But me personally, my hammers are lighter because I'm doing more fine detail and finesse type work. A lot of my stuff, like you don't need a 4-pound hammer or 5-pound hammer to turn a scroll, right? It's just too much. It's just not needed. And so that mass isn't gaining me anything, right? I'm just working a little harder to turn a scroll. So that's just you just have to kind of choose a hammer that fits your work the best. I have been one that has been accused of being anti-rounding hammer, and rightfully so, because I've made some bad video choices in my past where I've condemned rounding hammers and their use in the past. Although it wasn't really condemning the rounding hammer. Just the idea that the rounding hammer is the most superior hammer in the world, because it's not.
Yep.
Yeah. Changing the batteries up there.
Art of Craftsmanship said his standard one is a 2 1/4 pound rounding hammer typically.
Yeah. It's a good size.
Keith salutes Rob for starting this Roy rant.
So, for those of you who are new here or haven't maybe watched us in a long time or haven't seen our content before, which I don't know how many people we have in the stream, but the joke, the
60.
the running joke, these guys know I'm just messing with them and stuff because we've had these conversations over time. Been on YouTube now for quite a long time. And I was pretty well famous for, at the start of YouTube blacksmithing journey, for being able to make pretty bold claims, write up, bold-faced claims, and obviously making a splash just by putting out my opinion and not caring whether people like it or not. And that's, well, surprise, it's still me. At the end of the day, that's still me. I will state my opinion the way I believe it to be so, and if that doesn't work for you, well, here's a cookie. You can have a cookie. So that's just always been my thing on the channel, and so controversial. But my stance on tooling is and has always been and will always be, you use the right tool for the job. A tool is a tool is a tool. Or my statement that I have coined way back in the day, and maybe you even heard it somewhere in a blacksmithing forum at some point, is it is not the tools that make the smith. It is the smith that makes the tools. So there is no ultimate tool out there. There's no perfect power hammer, perfect press, perfect anything. There is a tool that fits the work and is fit for purpose. So if your body likes swinging a rounding hammer, by all means, go for it. If the tool fits the work that you're doing, let the work speak for itself. I like teasing about the rounding hammers because I will really love to see Rob, because I know what rounding hammers look like. I will really love to see him get into a sharp 90-degree corner with a rounding hammer, because that's just going to be amusing to watch for me, Rob.
He says, I don't think you ever gave
No
me a
cheating.
cookie. Where do I file my complaint?
Yeah, where's the cookies at? I ate them all. But yeah, so there's right tools that fit right jobs, and then there's completely wrong tools. You will naturally, as you smith, you will gravitate towards a particular style of smithing, or you will gravitate to a particular type of anvil, or you'll gravitate to a certain way of doing things. It's like anybody who's done anything. Any old man of craft, right? Or old lady of craft, they eventually get set in their ways, right? We've heard that before. People get set in their ways. Well, that's exactly what happens in blacksmithing. If you stick with the craft long enough, you will have your preferences. And, all the new age stuff or new techniques and tips and tricks out there, that dog won't hunt for you, right? You'll just be like, nah. Like, yeah, that's a better way of doing it, but I've been doing it this way 35 years, so I'm just going to keep doing what I've been doing for 35 years. And if it works, right? So something to think about, food for thought. But that's my thoughts on tooling. Tools are tools that are tools that are tools. They are meant to get a job done. They're, and all the rest is preference. So if the tool don't fit, it don't fit. In today, that's all it is. Roy rant over. Mic drop.
Speargrass says, speak for yourself, Roy. I'm the ultimate tool. Wait, did I just insult myself?
We all agree with you, Speargrass. We all agree with you. It's not an insult. No offense needed.
Rob says, I'll do it this weekend, Roy.
You'll do it this weekend? Film it or it didn't happen. And no cheating. You can't regrind the hammer face with a sharp corner on it either. So no cheating either, okay? I want to see it. I want to see it.
Debaka says, I have my own gravity well.
He has his own gravity well.
David Reednor asks, can you show what you mean by integrated tongue clip?
Yeah, I certainly can. Let me find a good example of one real quick. It's out in this one. Yeah. There you go. Just making sure I didn't have to go run all the way across the shop. We can go to camera number 2, Jess.
All right.
All right. So this is a pair of fine tongs for holding flat material, or more importantly, 16th, anywhere from 16th of an inch up to 1/8 inch thick scrolls to be forge welded together, to be bundle welded together. But I want you to see how long the tongs are. These tongs are about 16 inches long, 16 to 18 inches of the reins themselves long. So you see from the nibs there, all the way along. And here's an integrated tong clip. So this tong clip, this here is just a piece of chain link that I forge welded up. That's some 1/4 inch round. I forge welded that as a chain link. On the end of the rein here, and I have a video, I have multiple videos where I've shown them all, but I do have a video of making integrated tong clip tongs on these. But this portion here was just offset down and curled around so it could hold this clip. And then this portion here was a simple taper, just like it was the taper of the tongs here, and then I just put a little notch, like a little swoop-de-doo there. And what that allows me to do is that allows me to bite down on something and flip that clip over, and now the integrated tong clip holds the tongs for me. And so on my long-handled tongs like this, when I work with these, I'm actually not grabbing way back here like you would think you would, because I don't need to squeeze anymore to bring those things together. I squeeze once to make sure, and then I actually hold the tongs up here in a neutral area where they balance nicely. So I hold them where they balance. And you know, say they have a piece of stock in there, they're going to balance a little bit differently, right? So I'll hold them about right there where it balances at. And now I don't have to grip my tongs anymore. And that's why I like using the long-handled reins, is because all of this leverage creates an incredible bite force up here on the nibs, and I don't have to do anything but rotate the tongs and work my wrist, but I'm never squeezing anymore like that. So that's the secret behind those. Mm-hmm. And these are very, very effective. And if you look at these are specialty made. Like I said, they are to hold scrolls, really thin, flat ribbon scrolls. And if you look, they have a taper. I don't know if that taper shows off in camera. Mm-hmm. Do you see how the jaw's not quite aligned? Do you see how it's got a reverse taper? Mm-hmm. That's so this way it holds a tapered plane of a scroll perfectly. I do that, and that's what allows me to do that. So that's an example of an integrated tong clip. Mm-hmm. And then to release it, right? To release it, there you go. You just tilt back a little bit when you squeeze, and you can release it. And you can set them if you do the opposite of that, see? Mm-hmm. So if I squeeze and tilt, they're released. I can open them up and close them. And if I squeeze, so if I tilt and squeeze and bring it forward, there you go, they're held. So I can do all that in a flash while I'm gripping things. It just eliminates worry and other things that I have to think about. So my favorite are integrated tong clips. Those are my favorite. Regular tong clips are fine. They work great on shorter pairs of tongs, but the way I like to make my tongs, my actual made tongs, I like that integrated tong clip. Mm-hmm. It's just as handy as all get out. Questions, Jess? More comments? And then we ought to wrap it up with a giveaway.
We should, yeah. It's almost 7.
It's almost 7, okay.
Yep, 6:49.
Hey, we did good, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, 5 to 7, that's 2 hours, not bad. Mm-hmm.
Bill Will says, better than welding a handle on a billet that gets hot and floppy as a wet noodle.
Yep, definitely.
See, Thomas says, sorry guys, my readers aren't reading very good, so I'm still watching though. Have a good evening, everybody.
Oh, have a good evening, Thomas. Get to feeling better, buddy. He had surgery today on his hands.
Mm-hmm. Let's see, Debaka says, hey, hey, especially with my tiny welder.
Oh. All right. Are we ready to give some stuff away?
I think we are.
All right. So, first up for grabs. Now, I don't have, should I put out an example piece? I can grab it if we want.
I just need my paper back.
Oh, you need your paper back?
For my
let me hand that
notes.
to you.
Thank you.
There you go. You're welcome. Oh, bring them over. So the first thing we're going to give away, Jess, is the double bay guillotine tool.
Okay.
So this is a lever arm, again, in honor of Thomas, nearly losing a finger this past week. We're going to give away a lever arm guillotine tool. So generally speaking, most people don't put their hands on top while still striking. But if you are one of those people, now you can put your fingers at a safe distance away with the lever arm of the guillotine tool here. So you can get these over at our website. If you don't win one, you can find these over our website and a lot more, over 300 different blank options at our website, blacksmithingblanks.com. So be sure to check that out. Link for all that's down in the description. But we're going to give one of these away now. This is a kit, so it's something that you have to weld together yourself. But it's a kit that will come to you, and it'll have everything you need to take and put it together, except for the pins that would go through your dies. And the dies aren't cut to shape. You have to choose how you make your own dies and then drill your own pin holes and put a bolt in it or braze in a pin or however you want to do your own die pins. But it comes with everything else you need to make up a simple guillotine toolkit, you know, like a double bay here. So anyways, so that's the first thing up for grabs. The way it works here at Christ Center Ironworks, we just take and rat-a-tat-tat the anvil, and when I come to a stop, just go pick one of you lucky subscribers at random and from the comment section, and yeah, go from there. So it's completely randomized.
Yes,
And
indeed.
she'll just scroll, pick one of you lucky individuals, and then you will contact us within 24 hours with your details so we can, you know, ship it to you. Sound good?
Sounds great.
If you don't contact within 24 hours, we give it to somebody else. That's the way it works. We ready?
I'm ready.
You think? Are they excited?
They are. They're Tappy Fingers McGee.
All righty, here we go. So this is for the double bay guillotine tool.
All right.
And 3, 2, 1. Who do we have, Jess?
We have Redneck Forge with double guillotine.
Redneck Forge, congratulations. You're the winner of the double bay guillotine tool. Get with us through that contact link in the description. All right, next giveaway item and last giveaway item for this evening is going to be a single bay guillotine tool. Let me set this one out of the way and I'll tell you about all of its great features.
All right.
I think I missed my calling in sales, Jess.
You did.
Yeah, that cheesy infomercial 80s car guy.
Yeah.
Salesmanship. I could have done that.
Yeah, totally.
I was just born a little too late for it. So this here is our single bay guillotine tool. You just stay at the main cam.
Yeah.
Unless you have a picture of it that you can pull
do.
up there.
Yeah,
So
I
this
can
is
pull
our
it up
single
too.
bay guillotine tool. This has the lever arm off to the side. So this way you can, again, you can easily lift the die without your digits being anywhere of the strike zone. Or to have to grab these dies when they're scalding hot, you can just be able to move your die up and down with your hand safely away. So this is a single bay one that we have. This is a counter option for the double bay guillotine tool. And yeah, we're going to draw for that now. Same thing as before. And again, I will mention this is open worldwide, so it doesn't matter where you're at in the world, we will ship it to you.
That's right.
We ready?
Yeah, we're ready.
Steady? Go. Who do we have, Jess?
Looks like this one is going to David Henderson with single bay.
David Henderson, congratulations. you are the winner of the single bay guillotine toolkit there, sir. Congratulations. Everybody give them a round of applause. Oh. All righty, so I'm going to go ahead and finish up with some closing thoughts here, I think. Does it sound good to you?
Sounds good.
Okay, so I hope you all liked the demonstration on doing the bent knee tongs, doing this presentation, or axe eye tongs. Probably when I do that when I make a video on them on YouTube, I should probably call them axe eye tongs. They'll get more hits that way than bent knee, because most people won't even know what bent knee is. So I'll probably do that. That's a good shout out for mentioning it that way. But hopefully you guys like this kind of format without the giveaways, because that will be the new format in the new year. So I've decided to go away from doing giveaway live streams every single month and save up all of my tools, save up all of the gift giving, save up all of that good stuff for the December Great Blacksmith Christmas Giveaway live stream. So that is the plan going forward into 2025. Lots of reasons for that, but one of the biggest reasons is I want to be able to put more effort into getting awesome tools at December timeframe. I want to be able to have the purchasing power to be able to purchase some really awesome tools to take and give away during the during the December stream, and just kind of level that up a little bit more and not spend as much money month to month giving away the tools and just basically blow it all at the end of the year. So that's kind of my thoughts on it, and we're going to do it that way because I would like to get back to doing just educational Q&A and technique streams. So in the new year, I want to do a mix of technique and project streams. So be expecting that at the January 1 stream here on the channel. We will be going into either a technique stream or it will be a ornate item that I plan on forging anyhow. And I'm just going to do that and walk step-by-step process, basically through the creation of a very ornate item. And so that's kind of the plan for, time permitting. That's the plan for the new year. So I hope you guys like it. I don't know. Jessica has been looking at the screen. Hopefully it seems like people are you filling that out.
Yeah,
seems like people are
works for them.
Like that as an idea. Great. So that'll work out good. There will still be plenty of giving that'll go on. There'll still be times where, we might throw a random one in or something like that. But instead of it being structured like we have done in the past, where we've done a tool of or a year of type of thing, we're going to take a break from that for a little bit and try to get it to just smithing streams, and then have one big grand palooza at the end of the year where we give away all sorts of tools and just have a grand old time. And that one at the end of the year might not even have that much forging in. It might just be us giving stuff away and, I don't know, drinking hot cocoa and telling stories. I don't know. We'll see how the streams progress in 2025 down that way. So the member stream, that'll be tonight. Probably plan on 9:30 now. 9:30-ish. We'll be somewhere in there, because we got to be able to get our dinner into us and stuff like that. We ran a little late on this stream than what I originally anticipated, but we did make really good progress on those tongs, so that was choice. I like doing that. Let's see here. Some of the other updates. I have 8 videos in the tank. I have 8 videos. I have been so slack to be able to get them out. I've been so slammed, so I have not been able to take and get the edit time that I need to edit those 8 videos, but there are 8 videos coming to the channel. So I do have 8 videos in the tank ready to be published and produced. I just have to be able to take time to sit down and get that done. So there is some more content coming to the channel, and by the time I get it out there, you'll be like, it's summertime. It must got hot in Michigan all of a sudden.
Oh yeah, when we have all the Christmas lights up, those will be rolling out in summer.
Yeah, it won't make sense, but just trust me. Now you know why. They've been in the tank on the back burner forever. I just need to finish them off. So that's something you look forward to. I just want to thank everybody so much this year. If you don't get around to the Christmas live stream when you guys come about. You know, if you missed it or whatever, I just want to thank everybody for their love and support this year in on the channel, with our business. Every last one of you have purchased blanks from us or things like that. The various multitude ways that people have chose to support us over the year. Jessica and I greatly appreciate you all, and we really, really hope you will attend and let us continue to sow out there and continue to bless you at that Christmas giveaway live stream. And that will be December 20th, correct, Jess? You took away my fancy
correct.
sheet there.
I'll give it back.
Oh, no, you can have it. Just
Okay.
you can read it off when it is again.
Yeah.
So you can pop up that card.
Yep.
Make sure you guys are in attendance for that. Every year, it never fails. It never fails. Every year, someone says, I missed it. You know, well, my alarm didn't go off or whatever.
This is your
Write
save
it on
the
the
date.
calendar, set 5 alarms. Better yet, tell your wife, she's smarter about those things anyhow than you are, to remind you to get your butt to the Great Blacksmith Christmas Giveaway live stream. Okay? So, you know, that's just the, you know, that's just where it is. Every year it's the same thing. People will say, oh, I can't believe I missed this one again. Well, you know, you have no excuse, and I have no sympathy now. We've been doing it for 8 years.
We post like
Yeah,
like a countdown leading up to it for nearly 2 weeks prior. We post on Instagram and Facebook like once a day, like the prizes too. So, so that's another way to remind you. You can follow us on one of those platforms.
Yeah, so
also.
instead of like the 12 days of Christmas, we do like the 12 days of gift giving, where you can see every different type of tool that we are going to have part of the giveaway stream as we ramp up to as we ramp up to the Great Blacksmith Christmas Giveaway live stream. So please come, take some time, get the wife and kids. It's a family-friendly show. We'll have a good time, put on a good show for you all, and give away a lot of great prizes. And that's really just us giving back to our community who blesses us so much throughout the year. And it's our way of saying thank you and just, you know, showing the gratitude. It's a great thing. If you do get the chance to take and purchase from us through November, we love your support and things like that. And it's also a great way of supporting the Alzheimer's. Is that how you?
Alzheimer's.
I call it all-timers, is what I call all-timers. Jessica corrected me for the first time this evening. It's Alzheimer's.
Yes.
Alzheimer's Association. So, and they do stuff like for research on dementia and Alzheimer's and things like that. So it's a great way of getting some discounts and also doing that. So we do have that promotion going on. I encourage everybody to do that. And that all goes into a kitty, and it helps us with doing things like paying for shipping come the Christmas live stream, and all the great tools we'll be buying in. So we greatly appreciate your support and help in that way if you have it to do. If not, we're just blessed if you could just show up and you know, show your solidarity and support for us by watching me be goofy in a Christmas sweater. You know, yeah. Ought to be a pretty cool year. I've got to come up with something interesting to do, some interesting forging project. I'm still working on it, still calculating it. But the next time you see this shop, it'll be lit for Christmas. Not that cool kid kind of lit, but literally lit, like lit up with lights for Christmas. So, so we welcome you to that. So without further ado, I'm going to get off here. Members, we will see you about 9-ish, 15-ish, something like that for the members live. And we look forward to hanging out with you all there. And thank you everybody who's donated in the stream and donated memberships. And we greatly appreciate everybody. And Jessica, without further ado.
I do. I've got a poem.
Yeah, she's going to read a poem. And who's that? Who's that book by?
This is by Speargrass.
Speargrass Forge. Yep, he made it.
Under the Chestnut Tree by A. Fleewell Smith.
A. Fleewell Smith. Good. So God bless everybody. Thank you all so much. And we will see you at the next live stream at the Great Blacksmith Christmas Giveaway live stream on December 20th, correct?
That's correct.
December 20th.
Yep.
Okay.
See you
so
then.
There you go. Jessica, lead us out with a poem.
All right. This one is called His Lesson. There's a note at the bottom. that this was from the New York Evening Journal, reprinted in the Hub, 1913, but no author credited. The rich man trudged along the road, his car had broken down, and through the summer heat he strode to reach the nearest town. A fat old farmer came along, and with a cheery grin, said he, "This rig is plenty strong. Get in, stranger, get in." He drove the rich man to the town, as one might help a child. And when the rich man went to pay, he shook his head and smiled. "You mean it right, there ain't no doubt, but I ain't rich," said he. "But helping a feller out is pay enough for me." Back to his home the rich man went, as who knows his faults, and never put another cent in safe deposit vaults. He learned to help his fellow man, and with them give a grin. And now he chuckles now and then. "Get in, stranger, get in." Thank you, everyone. Have a blessed weekend. Take care.